Hi, and welcome to a new video with Athena Quant. Today, we're going to tackle something really cool, a tool that helps traders stare into the fog of uncertainty and actually make some sense of it. We're talking about the Monte Carlo simulation.
Okay, so let's just boil this whole thing down to one core idea. It's right here on the screen. Simulate thousands of futures to understand the range of possibilities. And that's really the key. We're not trying to find the single right answer, like some kind of magic crystal ball. Nope. The goal is to map out the entire landscape of what could happen.
So here's what we've got on deck. We'll kick things off with what Monte Carlo even is. Then, we'll see how you can simulate future paths. After that, we'll go from looking at just one stock to a whole portfolio. And of course, we have to talk about how to measure risk, and then wrap up with the good, the bad, and the ugly, its power and its pitfalls. All right, let's get right into it. First up, what is Monte Carlo? And the subtitle here, from the casino floor to your portfolio, kind of gives you a clue. So what in the world does a casino have to do with high-level finance? Let's find out.
Okay, so the formal definition sounds a little dense, right? A computational technique that uses repeated random sampling. But here's what that actually means in plain English. It's basically a way to see all the different directions the future could go by just running the same scenario over and over again, thousands of times. So instead of getting one prediction, you end up with this beautiful map of probabilities.
And yeah, that name, it's not just a fancy label. It's actually perfect. It's named after the world-famous Monte Carlo casino for a really simple reason. At the end of the day, we're dealing with random chance and probability, just like rolling the dice or spinning the roulette wheel. But, and this is super important, it's not just random chaos. There's a method to the madness. It really just boils down to 4 steps. First, you define what you're trying to model, say a stock's returns. Second, you set the rules of the game, things like its average return and how wild its swings are. That's volatility. 3, you hit the go button and run that simulation a ton of times, like 10,000 or more. And finally, step 4, you look at all those results to see the big picture.
Okay, so we've got the basic recipe down. Now let's actually see how we can simulate future paths. The big idea here is simple. One process, thousands of different outcomes. So how do we actually apply this to something like a stock price?
Well, it all starts with just one possible future. Think of it like a single storyline for a stock's price. And that story is shaped by 2 things. First, there's the long-term trend. We call that the drift. And second, there's the daily random noise, the up and down jitters. That's the volatility.
But here's where it gets really powerful. We don't just stop at one story. We tell that story 10,000 times, each with a slightly different random twist. And what you get is this cloud of possibilities. It's not one line anymore. It's a whole spectrum showing you everything that could plausibly happen.
Now, doing this for one stock is pretty neat, for sure. But the real magic happens when you scale this up to an entire portfolio of different assets. So let's talk about that.
So just to have an example to work with, let's imagine a pretty straightforward portfolio. We've got our money split equally, 25% each, into 4 different ETFs: SPY, QQQ, IWM, and TLT. Basically, a mix of stocks and bonds. Okay, so when we go from one stock to a whole portfolio, there's a new, super critical piece we have to add to the puzzle. With a single stock, all you need is its drift and volatility. But with a portfolio, you need a third thing: correlation. This is huge. It's all about how these different assets move in relation to each other. Do they all go up together? Does one go up when the other goes down? Getting that relationship right is absolutely key. All right, so we've run our simulation. We've got this massive cloud of 10,000 possible futures. So what? What do we actually do with all this data? That's what we're going to cover next: how to see and measure risk.
The first tool we're going to pull out of the toolbox is something called value at risk, or VAR for short. The definition sounds complicated, but the question it answers is really simple. On a really bad day, just how bad could it get? Let's look at a concrete example. Let's say our simulation tells us we have a 95% VAR of 2.5%. What does that mean? It means there's a 5% chance, so 1 out of 20 days, that we're going to lose at least 2.5% in one day. This isn't just theory. This is the exact kind of number that professional trading desks use every single day to manage their risk.
But VAR has a bit of a blind spot. It tells you the best of the worst-case scenarios, right? It tells you where the bad days begin, but it doesn't tell you how bad they can get after that point. For that, we need another metric: conditional value at risk, or CVAR. It asks the next logical question. Okay, so if we do have one of those bad days, what's our average loss going to be?
So following our example, if the CVAR at that same 95% level is 4.0%, that tells us that on those worst 5% of days, the average loss isn't 2.5%, it's actually 4.0%. And it makes sense that it's a bigger number, right? Because it's specifically designed to measure the pain in that tail of the distribution, the really nasty outcomes.
Okay, so single-day losses are one thing. But what about those long, painful slides? That gut-wrenching feeling when your portfolio just keeps dropping. That's what maximum drawdown is for. For every single one of our 10,000 simulations, it looks for the biggest drop from a high point to a low point. It tells you the worst-case, most painful ride you might have to endure.
So you can see this is an incredibly powerful tool. But, like any tool, you have to know how to use it right, and you really have to understand its limitations. Which brings us to our last section, power and pitfalls.
So just to recap, here's the kind of intel we can get from one of these simulations. We get a sense of the most likely outcome with things like mean and median return. We get our risk numbers, VAR, CVAR, max drawdown, to tell us about the downside. And we can even calculate the odds of specific things happening, like what's the chance we lose money, or even what's the chance we double our investment. Okay, now for the big but, the reality check. You have to remember, this is a model. It's not a prophecy. It's built on some huge assumptions. Like it assumes the future is going to look a lot like the past, especially when it comes to volatility. And these standard models, they are notoriously bad at predicting those once-in-a-lifetime black swan events. At the end of the day, it's all based on history. And as we all know, past performance is no guarantee of future results. It's a tool for thinking about what's possible, not for predicting what's certain.
And that really gets to the heart of why we do this. A Monte Carlo simulation isn't supposed to spit out one simple answer for you to follow. Its job is to give you a framework, a way to think about the whole range of what the future might hold. And that leaves us with the big question, the one you have to take away from all of this. If you can see 10,000 possible futures, how do you get ready for all of them?